Welcome to part 3 of my Edwardian English Country Christmas. We started in the front yard. We've done the front entryway. We are done in the hallway, and how lovely that is, all lit up in the evenings. The bedroom is finished. Now we're going into the kitchen. Do you remember these curtains? I thrifted them a couple of weeks ago. What I've done is I've taken 2 long panels and turned them into a valance for the one window and just cut them down for the other window behind the little love seat that sits in the kitchen. So I've just cut a piece off, put a couple of channels in so that I can feed the curtain rod through, and you'll see momentarily how they look. This is where the small valances are going, above the kitchen window. And this is the rest of the kitchen as it was before I started. So I've kept it real. It was a mess, it was untidy. There was no point in tidying up before I was going to start putting Christmas decorations up. Once I had the curtains up, I was putting up the first of my Christmas trees. This was a Christmas tree that I picked up some years ago from IKEA. It's been that long. I remember these trees used to be $9.99. I don't know how much they are any longer, but this was the 4-foot sort of tabletop tree. It's not terribly fancy, it's just a very basic tree. This is the type of tree that I like to use, that it's not real looking, it's got lots of spaces in it, and I like to put the ornaments on this tree that I want to actually see, so they're not lost in the branches. This is the little tree that I use for my felted and homemade looking material ornaments, and this usually goes in the kitchen, and I call it my children's tree. I only bought 4 new ornaments this year. My husband picked them up while he was in the UK recently, and these are the 4 new ones. Everything else is from previous years, thrifted or reused. So they are very pretty, and once this tree is full, it looks so gorgeous. This is the valance that I made from the curtains. I just threaded it with some of those red beads that I thrifted recently. I'm going to do the same around the other part of the kitchen, and I'm also putting some greenery over this archway. I don't normally do this in the kitchen, but I really like the idea of having greenery everywhere this year. Into the living room, and Dudley's there to help me, and you can see the mess. Christmas is exploded. I've got some of the boxes out, and I'm just going through everything because I'm not using a lot of my stuff this year. I'm keeping it very, very basic. This is from previous Christmases. I tend to have about 3 or 4 lots of decorations that I intermingle with one another. And over the years I've had all sorts, so I keep the best of the best and then use them periodically as fashions change. I also tend to give a lot of stuff to my kids. They are all setting up their own homes this year. Our daughter's back from Alberta, and she's taking some of the Christmas decorations, so I sort of replenish and we swap out between ourselves. Most of them originate with me, and then they sort of do the cycle around different houses, and it's a really nice thing to do. So this year I'm sticking with lots of greenery, not too many actual decorations, but holly, ivy and greenery is my main theme this year. This is the box that I'm starting to work from. This is the box that mainly does the kids tree, or the Christmas tree in the kitchen. So it's full of these knitted and felted little ornaments that I said I've been collecting probably over the last 10 years. They're just becoming popular in Canada. I've noticed more of them. I'm seeing more of them. But they've been popular in the UK for the last little while, and every time I've been back I've been picking them up. I also like to go to a lot of these charity shops in the UK or craft shops where they have knitted items, and some of my favourites are these little knitted Christmas puddings. So this is what's going on this tree in the kitchen. So many of these little ornaments have fond memories of places that we've visited and fairs that we've gone to with family and friends over the years. And you know, just remember where you picked them up and where you got them from. I do have a little bit of a fascination with owls. I have quite a few of them that are handmade, handcrafted and very DIY looking, but I just love them. I think they look so lovely, and again they fit on this little tree really nicely. In the rest of the kitchen, I've just put up a couple of little Merry Christmas signs, some Christmas items that I come up year after year. This little wreath I've had for many years. It used to be in the kids' bedrooms. Added lots of greenery and holly over pictures and in various places. On the shelves, I've added lots of garland. I haven't lit all of it, but most of it has got either lights in it or through it. I've even added a garland in between my cabinets because there was a blank space and I just thought it looked really nice once it was there. You can see the way the light, I've not got much light in my kitchen, so in the evening when the lamps are on, it just casts a really lovely cozy glow over the walls and the ceiling. In the big shelf in the kitchen where I keep all of my special little transferware items, I've got my collection of jugs up there, so I've just taken them and just put some nice greenery in them, dotted throughout the shelf, and again wrapped it in a garland. But I've used coloured lights in the garland in the kitchen just to give it that, again, that nostalgic look. Most of the rest of the kitchen hasn't had much of a change. The lamps are still there from a couple of weeks ago from a DIY, and just a pretty garland added through. My plate rack much the same. I do change a couple of things around, and by the time the home tour comes around you'll see that things have changed again. But from looking at other channels, I know I'm not the only one that does this. I find as the season goes on, I just adapt things and move things around as I feel necessary. I love this little corner of the kitchen now. I did grab the little stove and put that up just to give that extra little bit of warmth. But mostly, as I said, it's just the odd little ornament here and there. A little tree, bottle bush trees I have an abundance of. So they've been added up in various places. I'm thinking of using more of them in the living room, as I do have so many, and but we'll see that. You'll probably see that in next week's video. This is the base of my freshwater bottle dispenser, and I'll show you what I'm doing first and explain why. I'm cutting out a piece of white board in the shape the same size of this plate. I'm using it as a template. Once I've cut the foam board out, I'm going to cover it in this really pretty Christmassy plaid fabric. I'm going to cover both sides, and you can see here I've cut it out. I'm going to glue the fabric on. I'm gluing it on both sides, and then I'm going to glue it in place on top of the little platform. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I'm using the platform, but I've had to change out the ceramic water container. So the water bottles that we buy fit into the top of this ceramic water feeder, and then there's a little tap on it. We were finding that we had a film in our water, so once it was empty I gave it a good clean and realised that the inside of this ceramic container was deteriorated, so I've stopped using it. I'm now using a glass water dispenser, but I've kept the old ceramic one, and this is the glass water dispenser. I've just added a bit of ribbon that I've ripped off the fabric, and I'm using the original dispenser to hold my little Christmas tree in the kitchen. So recycling and reusing at its best. And that is the original water dispenser that I'm using for the Christmas tree. As with most of my house, 98% of it is thrifted. I've always done this since I was a teenager, and I mentioned this before. I like to feel that homey feel. I'm definitely not a minimalist, as you can tell. So I like to be surrounded by things that make me feel nostalgic and cozy, and a lot of it is back to memories of childhood and growing up, and that feeling at Christmas when you're with your family and the lovely times that you spend together with them. And this kitchen is giving me that feeling. There is not a lot of actual crazy Christmas decor. It's a lot of little pieces, a lot of greenery, a lot of holly. Christmas lights are coloured, which is again a very nostalgic thing. Growing up, we always had coloured lights. And it's a cottagey feel that is well loved, well worn, and very, very cosy and welcoming. My kitchen is very higgledy-piggledy. I have this little corner, and I do tend to have pieces of furniture that I set in there. This is the little two-seater couch that came from the living room, and it's a lovely spot to sit right down by the window with the new gingham curtains, and it's just perfect to sit while you're chatting, while somebody's cooking, or just having a quiet moment. It adds, and it's another place in the kitchen that is cozy and very nostalgic. I love how this little valance has turned out, and it certainly ties in with the curtains, and you have a connection now between the two windows. Before I put the valance up, there was no window treatment on this little window nook. The tree is adorable. The kids absolutely love it. This was my mum's little Paddington Bear, and I've stood him up next to the little cloche that I made with my mailbox in it. I remember when my kids were young and they used to help me decorate the Christmas tree, and they would put the stuff on, and once they'd gone to bed I would, move it around and make it look all pretty. I look back now, and the little decorations that they used to put on the family tree are pride of place now, along with things like these little wreaths that they made when they were children, and those are the things that really do bring me the most joy at Christmas. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story so far. Next week we tackle the living room, dining room. I have 2 Christmas trees, my curio cabinet, and one of my all-time favourite and most treasured Christmas items that was given to me by my sister on a vacation many years ago, and every time I get this item out, it is a flood of special memories of my beautiful sister and a lovely Christmases in the past.